My beloved, do you think it's an accident that you're hearing my voice right now? No. Heaven planned this moment long before you took your first breath. Here on Holy Voices, we share the whispers of eternity, the messages that change hearts and awaken destinies. If your soul is ready, stay with me, because what you're about to hear might be the very word your spirit has been waiting for. Whoever sows generously will also reap generously, 2 Corinthians 9 verse 6. A $20 or $50 seed into Holy Voices is a step into a generous harvest. Now, the streets are aware of your identity. The one who doesn't fold, the truth teller, and the defender. According to recent psychology research, there is a combination of divine frequency and unwavering conviction. Every cozy lie in your immediate vicinity is disrupted by you. When your name is mentioned in a boardroom, some individuals start talking about other topics. Those in positions of authority expected your truth to fade, but what was found has them sleeping poorly at night. Your impact spreads like wildfire, and there isn't a large enough extinguisher to stop what you've started. You've earned a reputation as the person who boldly speaks up against injustice and defends the weak. Here's what the powerful don't want you to know yet, though. Authority figures are genuinely afraid of you because of your courage and the courage you have inspired in others. Your actions started a chain reaction that is transforming individual protests into mass movements. Many voices have emerged, and those in charge are now unable to ignore what people are saying. Stories about you are all over the streets, and you've become the crown-wearing champion who people point to when someone says, "That's how it's done." People talk about the time you exposed that dishonest boss at coffee shops. Students gossip in the university corridors about how you destroyed the toxic authority of that professor. Executives in business circles become anxious when someone brings up your strategy for exposing discrimination. Now, the dishonest are uneasy with the weight of your reputation, which comes before you. Your presence has turned into a litmus test for authenticity, which is fascinating. Observe how people respond when you go into a room. The real ones get brighter. The dishonest ones closed. You've developed into a walking character detector. Furthermore, that detecting technique is more accurate than a reference letter or background check. Because the streets are aware of this about you, even in rooms you have never been in, your name has influence. That's precisely why you're the talk of the town right now. But you have a lot more to learn about the seismic change you've caused than this. For everything that transpired in those rooms where you first raised your voice is soon to make perfect sense. And all that has transpired since will be explained by the pattern you are about to uncover. Those in positions of authority can no longer hide from you. The deflective charm, the smirks, the phony concern. As soon as you enter, everything falls apart. Their voice shifts. People in positions of power stiffen their posture and begin acting frantically in the hopes that you won't see the things they have tried so hard to conceal. However, you do. You always do. Their writings show through to you. Between their gaps, you read. You can tell when authority is being abused and when goodwill is being used as a front. Corruption is aware that you don't put up with quiet abuse. The mere fact that manipulation is cloaked in prestige and smiles does not legitimize it. No one else will call it what it is, but you do. Because of this, dishonest leaders stay out of your sight. For this reason, manipulators shift the topic. Because of this, abusers attempt to change the story before you say anything. Because the illusion dies the instant you speak. Nobody signed up for the accountability system that your very presence has created. In the past, corrupt regimes operated with impunity, believing that bad behavior would be shielded by social graces. In order to maintain actions uncontested, authority relied on everyone's desire to avoid disagreement. But by refusing to put comfort ahead of the truth, you appended that whole ecology. The streets are aware of your extraordinary capacity to coerce confessions without questioning. How many times have you witnessed someone make a mistake, contradict themselves, or unintentionally disclose their genuine intentions just because your energy required honesty? It's not magic. It is the result of human deceit meeting heavenly intent. You've raised your voice in situations where being silent was necessary for your safety. By refusing to cooperate, rather than by assaulting, you have caused discomfort for others. You might not be aware yet, but your defiance in its purest form, your unwillingness to participate, is louder than any speech. You are the pause that causes others to reconsider. Mirrors to faces too accustomed to viewing only what is convenient are held by you. In reality, your individual bravery was laying the foundation for a chain of events that would eventually bring down entire control structures. You were preparing for a moment that would alter everything every time you refused to remain silent. You had no intention of creating a stir. The wave is you. Nothing is unaffected by your truth as it passes through others. Some attempt to dodge it, act as though it didn't strike. Even the most dishonest people, however, secretly realize that something has changed. It feels like deceit is revealed. In actuality, it is. You had no agenda when you entered rooms. You entered with clarity, and in a society where distortion is the norm, clarity can be hazardous. Because you are not deceived, corrupt systems dread your eyes. Because manipulation is calculated rather than ignorant, it is afraid of your silence. You watch and wait. Additionally, the purpose of speaking is to reveal rather than to cause pain. Power structures are scared of that. Speaking to be felt is more important than shouting to be heard. Furthermore, truth cannot be forgotten once it is experienced. It will be referred to as tension by authority. The corruption will refer to it as drama. However, what you bring is the fullest manifestation of justice. Uncomfortable, indisputable, and very essential. You became a guardian even if that was not your intention. When everyone else pretended not to notice, you turned toward the fire because you couldn't keep quiet when others turned away. You stood your stand and met truth's gaze. Everywhere you walk, a new social dynamic has been formed by your wave effect. When your presence is expected at a meeting, people prepare differently. When others expect you to be involved, the conversation changes. Before you even ask questions, the dishonest begin practicing their justifications. You've become like the storm corruption's own weather radar, continuously changing your conduct to keep from being exposed for what you are. How your influence travels across networks you aren't even a member of is amazing. Tales of your bravery are repeated, modified, and used in ways you'll never hear. A parent confronts bullying at school because they recall your example. A member of the community confronts local corruption because your model demonstrated that it was feasible. Since your blueprint provides a foundation for resistance, an employee declines unethical requests. Every conflict, every instance of defiance, and every time dishonest systems attempted to undermine you served to increase your power. Unaware of it, power structures were creating the same weapon that would ultimately cause them to lose control. The diamond that would pierce their deceit was being created by the strain. You defended, not just talked. And that's what made all the difference. For some people, lying don't scare them. The corrupter is scared of what will happen if their deceit is eventually exposed. You have witnessed instances of injustice disguising itself as civility. You've heard the nastiness covered up with phony apologies, the mockery wrapped in humor, and the disdain concealed beneath the surface. And you made a statement rather than ignoring it. Perhaps you didn't speak loudly. Perhaps you didn't have to. However, your remarks, which were clear, crisp, and unflinching, sliced like a razor through the cacophony. You didn't take offense. You expressed it. You confronted a manager at work who believed their position authorized them to treat people inhumanely. You cut off the family member who consistently breaks boundaries and chuckles as if it's nothing. You stood up for someone who everyone else conveniently forgot about in your social networks. While others stood behind them, waiting for someone, anybody, to accomplish what you did, you drew lines in the sand. And everything changed when you did it. You have enemies because you spoke the truth in denial-based rooms, not because you were mean. Your presence broke the immunity of those who had never been held accountable in their lives. Your interventions are so terrible because they are so precise. Character is not attacked by you. You reveal actions. You don't attack people personally. You make patterns visible. People are not destroyed by you. You take down the harmful systems that individuals were using to hide. The reason you are so effective and feared is because of your surgical approach to telling the truth. Subterranean networks of the vulnerable have spread the word about your reputation for protection. Those unable of self-defense are familiar with your name. Bullying victims talk in whispers about the moment you stepped in. Victims of domestic violence. Tell us about your methods for establishing boundaries. Those who are harmed by dishonest power arrangements. Examine your strategies for resisting authority. The streets are aware of your fabled altercations. You never give up when injustice finds you, not because you actively seek them out. You are now the truth's emergency contact. When someone unbreakable is needed to stand by their side, they call this person. There is no gossip on your phone. SOS calls from folks in need of someone who won't fold under duress fill the air. Corrupt regimes are most afraid of your capacity to remain composed when refuting their claims. When you expose lies, you don't become emotional. You become methodical. When you expose corruption, you don't become upset. You become strategic. When you are being manipulated, you do not get reactive. You become accurate. Because of this regulated power, you are completely unstoppable. You weren't hostile. You were accurate. You weren't sentimental. You were right. And it hurt because of that. For this reason, corruption continues to be discussed. The manipulators haven't forgotten because of this. The mention of your name still makes someone cringe. You were correct, not because you were mistaken. And how blatantly you demonstrated the rotten hatred. There is still a salty person out there. Currently working on rewriting the story. I'm still trying to figure out how to make you the bad guy. Corruption, however, knows deep down that you weren't defending yourself. Malachi 3 verse 10 says, "Test me in this, says the Lord, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven." Test God today with a $100 seed into Holy Voices. You were standing up for someone who was unable to. And power manipulation can never comprehend it. The number of persons who expressed silent gratitude was unexpected by those in positions of authority. Those who lacked the confidence to speak up. Those who believed they would never be protected. You achieved it without requesting a round of applause. Without focusing on you. By taking action, you allowed others to feel that they were entitled to better treatment. Your accurate strikes are now used as examples of how to communicate the truth effectively. The way you used well-chosen questions to undermine that poisonous manager's power. How you used a simple request for story repetition to uncover the lies of dishonest officials. The moment you rejected charm as a sign of character and exposed a predator's true nature. Every procedure was a surgical procedure. No harm to innocent people as collateral. Nothing valuable should be destroyed. Simply removing dangerous components from healthy systems in a tidy manner. You have perfected the art of focused truth that protects instead of harms, that builds instead of shatters, and that heals instead of hurts. Your iconic moments are remembered by the streets for their impact rather than their drama. How your refusal to engage in hostility and your exclusive focus on solutions transformed a contentious meeting into a fruitful conversation. How you continuously modeled polite behavior and refused to tolerate disrespect toward others or yourself in order to change a poisonous workplace culture. A new philosophy of resistance, strategic truth-telling that maximizes impact while minimizing destruction, has been sparked by your approach. People research your strategies in an attempt to comprehend how you maintain your composure under duress, how you pick the ideal time to speak, and how you know exactly which phrases will expose deceit without destroying the one who is deceiving. You have a reason for being a rebel. With one, you're a force. You're not creating a scene. Unbalance is being corrected by you. And the effect endures regardless of how motivations are distorted. You saved someone, but you weren't attempting to save the entire planet. And your truth still reverberates more loudly than quiet in a world that seeks to eradicate the defenders. Another voice in the crowd is not you. The air becomes thicker, the masks slip more quickly, the temperature changes, and those who typically talk over others suddenly find themselves at a loss for words. You don't shout for it. It isn't due to your dominance. It's because your presence has consequences and your words have weight. Corruption senses it. The change and the authority you possess are upsetting. And that's precisely why people are afraid. Because you cannot be purchased, corrupt systems fear you. You're not trying to win them over. Flattery does not flatter you. With manipulation, you don't play nice. Additionally, you don't compromise your morals for ease. You are hence susceptible to corruption. Furthermore, the most harmful sort of behavior in a principled person is unpredictability. You cannot be figured out by power hierarchies. It's hard to predict your next action. Corruption is aware that wherever you are, people begin to wonder what acceptance they have been asked to accept. You have a contagious influence. People start asking their own questions after you ask one. When you reject one injustice, others are inspired to follow suit. You give people the impression that losing fear is the only thing that can challenge control and that helplessness is temporary. Your frequency communicates straight to people's repressed courage and transcends their conscious defenses. People immediately remember that there are spines when you enter a room. Suddenly, people remember that voices can be employed when you join in conversations. When you see injustice, everyone recalls that there are options. Your electromagnetic effect on social dynamics is known to the streets. How your presence affects the honesty of meetings. How being around you makes bullies anxious. When you watch, victims know how to find strength. You are now a human truth catalyst. And every environment you visit is changing as a result of that catalytic influence. You can change the frequency in ways other than confrontation. By posing more profound queries, you improve discussions. You can turn superficial networking into deep connections by sincerely caring about people's real-life situations. By demonstrating vulnerability and appreciating others' capabilities, you transform competitive settings into cooperative ones. Since your presence will enhance the outcome, people have begun to invite you to events. When you are present to provide an example of polite discourse, even the most difficult conversations become fruitful. When your presence refocuses energies on progress, toxic sessions become solution-focused. When you ask the correct questions, corrupt procedures become evident. The pattern becomes indisputable at this point. You are more than just a change agent. You set it off. And that's dangerous in the realm of corruption. You've made it more difficult for malicious computers to function in the dark. Pretending that control is gained rather than imposed makes manipulation more difficult. Abuse has a tougher time persuading others that safety equates to silence. Because people are now watching in a different way because of you. We are observing patterns. They're connecting dots. People are raising their voices. It's no accident. Your influence is at work there. You were underestimated by corruption. It was assumed that you would calm down if you were ignored for a long enough period of time. Others would follow suit if there was discrediting. However, the reverse took place. Because integrity is contagious and yours is indisputable, people paid more attention to you, observed you more, and respected you more. To keep from acknowledging that you are a solution, you will be called a problem. When it is shown how little corrupt systems have been doing, you will be termed too much. Your power will be presented as conceit. The reality, however, is known. Your power isn't loud, in actuality. It's tidy. It breaks through the cacophony. It makes people wake up. Because of this, when people assume you're not listening, your name is muttered. You didn't request a leadership position. Being unwavering made you one. And now, whether the corrupt systems like it or not, you have to face the consequences of your presence. A society in which truth comes before power, not the other way around. A new kind of social consciousness has been sparked by your catalytic effect. People who have never challenged authority before are suddenly demanding explanations, no matter where you are. People who used to accept excuses are increasingly calling for responsibility. Once disrespectful groups are now establishing limits. The collective conscience is a sleeping giant that you have woken. The catalyst effect of your awakening works on several levels at once. You inspire personal bravery in everyone who sees you set an example. You cause organizations under your purview to become more systemically aware. In the communities you safeguard, you awaken the communal conscience. When people perceive divine purpose manifested in human activity, you awaken their spiritual recognition. The effects of your engagement in any situation, both before and after, are discussed on the streets. People accepted the unacceptable before you arrived. The unacceptable became unimaginable when you spoke up. The victims endured in silence prior to your involvement. It was difficult to remain silent after your protection. The system felt indestructible prior to your questioning of it. Your challenge made the system answerable. The sustainability of your catalyst effect is what gives it its potency. You don't merely make a transient alteration that disappears when you depart. You start a change that lasts forever and keeps getting stronger after you're gone. Rather from being borrowed strength that needs your presence to sustain, the courage you inspire in others becomes their own. This goes beyond personality. It's not merely a learned behavior. By design, what flows through you is divine. It's not random how you perceive flaws in well-functioning systems or how your spirit shudders at injustice that others have accepted. It's a gift. You were designed to cause trouble, founded on shaky roots of authority that have endured too long without opposition. You weren't made to fit in. You were programmed to question what has been naively accepted. Others might leave. You remain. Your soul won't allow you to give up on the truth, not because it's simple. That goes beyond simple defiance. It's a calling. You're more than just an intuitive person. You are a divine informant. Your mission was to bring light into spaces where darkness was allowed to persist for too long. What others overlook, you see. Before anyone else has the courage to name it, you call it out. And even though you don't always understand, you handle the reaction well when it occurs. It's not luck. That's defense. Something higher, something more than politics, perception, or public opinion, is protecting you. The fights continue to choose you even though you didn't choose them. Your presence alone reveals what's broken, not because you're combative. And the invisible becomes visible each time you speak up and take a step forward. Supernatural perception that functions beyond our comprehension is a prerequisite for divine identification. You can tell when someone is lying before they say it. Even before it's attempted, you sense manipulation. You are able to spot corruption before it is revealed. You are so successful as a guardian and so feared by those who work in the dark because of this spiritual early warning system. The streets are aware of your ability to predict character. How you forewarned others about that endearing egotist before their true character was exposed. How, prior to the scandal, you detected corruption in that well-liked leader. How, before victims came forward, you were able to identify the predator concealed under religious authority. You're not cynical if you can look past appearances. It's a gift from God. Others miss the frequency that your spiritual antenna picks up. You can tell when someone's good intentions aren't sincere. When someone apologizes out of manipulation rather than regret, you can tell. When someone's vulnerability is act rather than genuineness, you can tell. Everyone in your sphere of influence is protected by this supernatural detecting mechanism, not just you. Perfect timing, which appears to be coincidental but is never, is how your calling works. You arrive at precisely the correct time to stop damage. You intervene just in time to preserve someone's honor. At precisely the right time, you can take action to maximize its protective effects and minimize its negative ones. You have unintentionally shaken buildings. Your super thanks gift is not just a donation, it is energy, it is faith, it is a vibration that heaven responds to. Sow $20, $50, or $100 into holy voices today. Attacks against you have never been random because you have stood in your truth. Smears, murmurs, and isolation efforts are all indicators. Indicators that you are in the right place. When a building isn't standing, people don't throw stones at it. Because you challenge the foundation of fear, silence, and control that corruption has established, you are singled out. Cowardice is called into doubt by your bravery. Parts of corruption that have been concealed, even from themselves, are under strain from your presence. Simply by refusing to take part in lies, you have exposed them. By not pretending, you have upset systems. And the change has already started, whether you ever receive credit for it or not. Because of you, others are thinking differently. Because of what you stood for, people are making different decisions. God sensed something in you that could carry this responsibility, even if you didn't apply. Something sacred, something indestructible. The journey feels heavy because of this. You feel different because of it. Since you are here for more than just consoling the injured. You're here to let the people who are hurting know that their time is running out. Quiet compliance is not your calling. You were created to tremble the earth beneath unfair feet. And you're carrying out the exact task for which you were sent here. Even before you speak, the streets are aware of your authority. Your reputation comes before you, paving the way and setting the mood. Systems that are corrupt begin to change how they behave. When victims learn of your involvement, they begin to feel hopeful about receiving your help. Those who speak the truth begin to feel less isolated. When you lead by example, your authority is based on influence rather than coercion. You don't need to be demanding. It comes naturally to you. It's not necessary to demand honesty. It comes naturally to you. Setting limits isn't necessary. Violation becomes blatantly unacceptable because you so clearly embody them. You don't take advantage of your position to further your own interests. You use it to generate benefits for everyone. You don't use your influence to gain more authority. You share it to give others more power. To keep control, you don't stockpile your power. To create a sense of community, you share it. Establishing a new model for leadership that functions on integrity rather than image, on character rather than charm, and on principle rather than position is how you demonstrate your authority. People are looking at your approach and learning that genuine authority is not derived from a collection of titles but rather from alignment with the truth. Corrupt institutions attempted to categorize you as dramatic, challenging, or rebellious, not because it was accurate, but rather because it was simpler than confronting oneself. Addressing the power struggles, manipulation, and harm done behind the scenes might be a good idea if you could make the issue. It was possible to avoid closed doors. It was hoped that your words would lose their impact if you tarnished your reputation. However, truth can be conveyed effectively without a flawless messenger. As well as your truth. It reverberated. An attempt was made at isolation. You heard whispers behind your back. It created distance. Simply because you stopped tolerating the unbearable, you were portrayed as unstable. But you didn't break down. You didn't back down. While corruption scurried to preserve its illusion, you remained motionless in your reality. Corrupt systems are plagued by that. The reality that authority did not require a crowd. All you needed was your voice and the guts to speak up. You were underestimating how much you were holding back. Your quiet was interpreted as a sign of surrender. In reality, though, you were observing, researching, calculating, and waiting for the ideal opportunity to present itself. With clarity, not with retaliation. And when the time came, there was no rebuttal because your truth was so obvious, so incisive, and so indisputable. You couldn't outtalk it. There was no way to outrun it. Corruption could only cause fear. Stories that naturally circulate across the communities you've impacted are how you create your legend. More and more legendary language is used to recount the story of your bravery. Because the impact was truly that great, not because the facts are overstated. You became a hero by simply continuing to be who you were when it became hazardous. People need heroes. By creating a collective memory of the times when someone finally stood up, the streets help you create your legacy. Your conflicts serve as examples of what may happen when truth and courage are combined. Your initiatives serve as examples of how systemic change can be brought about by individual action. Others are inspired to find their own power by your example. Through underground networks of the oppressed and disenfranchised, war legends proliferate, giving hope to those who believed they would never be protected. It spreads among communities of ethical people who were waiting for someone to demonstrate how to live up to their principles. It spreads throughout awakening groups that required evidence that standing up could be survived. As your legend grows, truth-telling is being reclaimed as heroic rather than negative, contributing to a cultural transformation, where people celebrate the need for protection rather than its voluntary nature. When bravery is acknowledged as infectious rather than unique, your individual acts are inspiring the group as a whole. You already know the game is rigged, don't you? You can tell the walls are closing in if you're listening. Let's discuss our current course of action. People want to be heard, held accountable, and given a fair hand when they live by the dictates of the market, when profit and property dominate the land. We also hear you. There are paywalls in the Obsidian Inner Order. Yes, those who support us and give this mission life. They provide us with ammo to battle the Archons, resist the machine, delve farther, and find out more. In addition to receiving a 1-hour live, personalized group tarot reading every week as a thank you, our premium members also receive clarity, insight, and guidance for the future, but we also kick a man for being on the ground. There is no way we can overlook that. Because of this, you may start stealing the Astral Atom Unique Daily Newsletter for free right now. No catch, no paywall. Simply click the link in the description to sign up for the Patreon free tier. This marks the beginning of our bidirectional dialogue with you. Any email we send you can be replied to. We'll read it. We will listen to you and try our best to get the universe to respond. We need your help, if you can. Take what's free if you can. The inner order of obsidian is open. Let's resume our work now. The drama is not why you are here. That is the result of corruption. You aren't here to cause destruction. It's your job to disclose. And your voice got louder each time you tried to suppress it. More people began to pay notice each time you were pushed aside. Because corruption proved how deadly your truth truly is by attempting to suppress you. Allow tampering to distort it. Let deceit speak. Those who are important are aware of your values. Because of you, others who were silently observing have already begun to change. And whether or not you get admitted, you are grateful that you spoke up, since your voice not only broke the silence but also the system. Corruption was too scared to be identified. And you can't be ignored now, no matter what is tried. For this, you didn't raise your hand. You didn't say, "Follow me," while standing at the front. However, as ambition isn't always the first step toward leadership, following nonetheless took place. Action is the first step. And you've said a lot with your actions. People noticed every time you got up. Others gained the strength to quit lying to themselves each time you spoke the truth. It wasn't you who picked the spotlight. You were chosen for the spotlight. It is now indisputable. You have been called to take the lead. Exposure, not explosion, is the mechanism by which your system-breaking power works. Corrupt buildings are not destroyed by force. By asking them questions, you expose their inconsistencies. You don't use violence to overthrow destructive systems. Transparency helps you deconstruct them. Anger does not destroy repressive institutions. With truth, you dispel them. The streets are aware of your renowned capacity to undermine systems just by declining to take part in their dysfunction. How you continuously demonstrated respect while refusing to put up with disrespect to change a terrible environment. How you persisted in demanding accountability while offering it yourself transformed a corrupt company. How you changed a negative society by being the change you wish to see without sacrificing your moral principles. Breaking your system makes room for something better. You make room for what's healthy rather than simply demolishing what's bad. You show what's right rather than just pointing out what's wrong. You create what is lovely rather than merely destroying what is damaged. Your strategy for disrupting systems has sparked a new approach to social change that uses invitation rather than coercion, demonstration rather than demand, and embodiment rather than enforcement. You've demonstrated that creating a better system and letting people make their own decisions is the most effective approach to overthrow a detrimental one. The way you conduct yourself sets an example for others. In the way you refuse without feeling guilty. In the way you set and maintain limits, in the way you enter situations with a straight back and convictions more pronounced than any insult corruption can conjure. Just being in your truth is how you lead. People who have lived their entire lives in masks are also shaken by it. You're not aware of how many people are observing you. Later, the people you believe aren't paying attention will quote you. The people who pretend you are unworthy of respect are observing everything you do and attempting to understand how you do it with such unreserved clarity. Teaching without teaching is what you're doing. You're taking the lead without making demands. And that's precisely why you have such a profound impact. It's bravery, not perfection, that you need in this phase of your life. People are calling you into rooms that you didn't request to be in. You're being asked to speak about topics you never intended to discuss in public, and you're being placed in front of people you never tried to impress. Others are already using your life as a model. Someone else is clinging to your narrative as their survival guide. It won't appeal to everyone. Some will be envious of your voice's strength. People looking at you will make others angry. The charge will be arrogance. The dismissal will depend on luck. On the inside, however, the truth is known. Alignment. Something greater has aligned with you. And whether or not there is ready, that kind of congruence draws people into consciousness. You had no desire for a fan base. All you wanted was for freedom to exist. Nevertheless, leadership was demonstrated by the decision to prioritize truth over popularity. People saw in you what they couldn't find in themselves, not because you sought leadership. Conviction, strength, and integrity. You proved that it is possible to be both strong and principled. And your critics are most frightened by that. For applause, you're not leading. You're in a leadership position because you understand what it's like to feel isolated from your principles. The suffering will have been worthwhile if your bravery aids in the ascent of one more individual. Every seed carries a future. Your $20, $50, or $100 gift through Super Thanks into Holy Voices is a future blessing waiting to unfold. Even if you didn't seek for this job, you will embrace it with fervor in your heart and honesty in your speech. You're not only following your own route, you are paving the path for others to follow. Now, the streets are aware of your identity. The one who doesn't fold, the one who tells the truth, the one who protects. And everything has changed because of this information. They adopted your truth as their norm. They were inspired by your bravery. Your honesty served as their guide to what is feasible. When a person decides to live a genuine life at all costs, every obstacle that attempted to shatter you only strengthened you. Your light just became stronger because of everyone who attempted to dim it. Your voice continued to be heard despite every system's attempts to stifle it. When divine assignment is fully accepted, you are the evidence that it cannot be broken. Your legacy is this. You not only made it through, but you also took control. Not only did you raise your voice, but you also helped others find theirs. Not only did you take a stand, but you also demonstrated to a whole generation what it means to be indestructible. The change is finished. There is no denying the authority. You are doing exactly what you were supposed to do, being exactly who you were supposed to be, and being precisely where you were supposed to be. This is your time. You have absolute power. Furthermore, your influence endures forever. Now, the streets are aware of your identity. And everything has changed irrevocably as a result of this knowledge. The truth you hold is timeless, thus your crown endures forever. The defense you offer is not limited by geography. And the bravery you possess surpasses all efforts to weaken it. The chosen one who made the decision to remain selected is you. And you've been crowned forever by that decision. Beloved soul, if this message has spoken to your heart, don't let it end here. Click that like button so the light can spread to more people who need hope. Subscribe to Holy Voices so you never miss the next word heaven has for you. And leave a comment below. I read every one, and I pray over them. Remember, faith grows when we share it, so share this message with someone who needs to hear it today. Until we meet again, may God's peace cover you and His voice guide your every step.